So welcome everyone after the lunch break, and thank you so much for the session number 1 in the morning, because it was really good, and I was really curious to see what you'll come up with, because as I said before, we always look at the expert's view, the teacher's view, and very often we miss the student's view on their own education, your own educational journey. So really happy to have you here, and thank you for all your really hard work getting ready for this. We will start with the presentation by Evelien and Rakhi that will be representing the work of all the students after the second workshop, and they will summarize the list of 10 things that they believe universities do not know about educational technology and education in general. So please welcome Evelien and Rakhi and their list. And I'm curious what you will say after that. Didn't you know that?
So 10 things universities don't know about at the perspective of students. I have to say, I think they know. But anyway, before I start with the 10 points, I just want also to refer to Livrouw and Livingstone, because they conceptualize the social and the technical aspects of technology, and they describe them as 3 distinct and interconnected aspects of technology. The first one is artifacts and devices. That's about technology itself and how it's designed and made. The second one is activities and practices. That's what people do with technology. And the last one, but not least, is the context. So that are social arrangement and organizational forms that surround the use of technology. The 10 points where we will talk about, you will see that's not necessarily talking about the artifacts and the devices, but more about the activities, the practices, and the context. And you will see that they are interconnected. The first one is exploiting communication. Maybe you recognize this face of yourself or for fellow students, and it's true. They use a lot of channels, they use different platforms, they use email, they use WhatsApp, and sometimes it's really confusing where you can find that information. Sometimes they use Zoom, sometimes you find the Zoom link in the mail, sometimes in the Teams, and you have to look. Yeah. So for us, it's quite important to centralize that communication, to take one of the tools and to centralize all information there, and to also give some specific rules where you can or where you have to communicate what. So you don't have to look, and you have some guideline to find easily the information. Yeah, it can be, for example, Teams, and when there's another professor or another teacher who use also Moodle, you can just make reference to Moodle, but that everything is centralized in one place. The second point, who is really interrelated with that, is consistency. I think everybody knows the feeling when you have a teamwork and you have to find some files, and you're looking in the folders and you don't find it because the other person or other persons who made the files and the files, they have another way of organizing, and that takes a lot of time. I think that the professors and teachers will recognize this, but it's the same for us. Even if a university has chosen for one central channel to communicate, yeah, then it's still students have to adapt at every professor, at every teacher's way of thinking. So we ask ourselves, it takes a lot of time, and often there's no real there's a lack at guidance and a lack of clarity, and that demands a lot of time. So maybe there can be some or general rough guidelines or a good explanation where you can find the things. So how you have to deliver assignments, because sometimes it's also different with the different teachers and professors. A third point is social contacts. We are living online most of the time now, this situation, and friendship, because of Facebook, friendship is seen as thumbs up, but that's not friendship. Friendship, we have to see at the human USP, the human USP who is who refers to belonging. There's a kind of trust, and trust you can build if you have if you have more contact. So now if everything is online, we need sometimes somebody to talk with. We feel alone. So at the university, normal when not everything is online. So if they use blended learning, you will see your colleagues, your student colleagues, and you can talk with them and talk with them about a lot of things, take a beer or anyway. And so you build a community. And we see now when everything is online, there's still a lack of creative ways to build a community. And it's really necessary to build that affective trust between people and to have that belonging, the feeling of belonging. Now, Dina, one of the students, she said, and she's right, if we using the breakout rooms, we are in little groups, but then we are still working in the course. And she said, no, she thought that also the students had to have the possibility to make breakout rooms so that we can replace the going for a cup of coffee or a cup of beer or the fika moment, to spend some time together, that we can do that between students also. But now I'm talking only about the community between the students, but you have also the community of the institution. Now, if everything is online, you have not the feeling belonging with the institute. Is it the role of the teacher, of the professor, or is it somebody else's role of the institute to take that responsibility to build a real community? That's not clear. That's just a question we ask. Next to those more problems or pain points, we can see also a lot of opportunities, the inter-opportunities we call them, and that's to work together with different disciplines, different cultures, and different institutes. And that we are calling the COIL, so Collaborative Online International Learning. And this model, it doesn't promote only to put students from different disciplines and cultures and institute together. No, it is more about to build or to create an equitable team touch learning environment where faculties from two cultures or two institutes or more can work together and develop one shared syllabus. And that's a great possibility, because you're working also on the intercultural and interdisciplinary competences of the students and of the teachers, because I don't think it's always so easy, even for teachers and professors, to do that. Very recognizable, I think. Everything is online. It never stops. You have so many channels. You can work all the time. You find a lot of information. How do you have to choose? It starts really to be it innerves, and it can also give the and now I forget my word. It gives also an option paralysis, so that you don't know what to choose. So it gives a lot of stress.
All right. So our next point is that digital innovations offer opportunities for innovative pedagogies. So what we see in the classroom is an influx of digital technologies like be it Moodle, Zoom, Eco, Blackboard. But somehow we kind of see it as being like the pedagogy is just being force fitted into the technology. For example, like the classroom stations just become breakout rooms with the adoption of technologies. So the question we kind of have is like, what pedagogical need is the technology answer to? So does pedagogy supplements technology, or is technology supplementing pedagogy? So this makes us think about like the pedagogy and learning task. Are they replicating what traditionally used to happen in the face-to-face classroom, or are we actually taking into account the affordances that the digital technologies offer to be innovative and creative? And can we ensure that it's being facilitated by design of the learning task and the affordances of the technology? And along similar lines is our next point, which is technology as a tool. And if you're seeing technology as a tool, then there's a need for ongoing training and support, especially for the teachers. So again, what you've seen is the teachers and the universities have adopted online learning and started using learning management systems and all that. But at the same time, technology is making leaps and bounds. So they're like digital game-based learning, they're AR technologies, VR technologies that's being used, but most of this we generally seen or read about in K-12 classrooms and not necessarily in the universities. So can the teachers and the universities take steps to ensure that they're updating themselves on this technology so that they can make an informed choice on the kind of learning tasks that each of these affordances, each of these technologies can offer? It will also give teachers better clarity as to what sort of role they are playing with respect to each learning task. Is it like instructor? Is it mentor? Is it coach? At the same time, the need to also understand that we need human interaction. So the students need human interactions with the teachers need that. So also ensuring that digitalization does not replace the human interactions. So the need of ongoing training and support is something that we identified one of the things that universities need to take note of. Again, along similar lines is being learner-centric. So there's a gap between what digital technology is touted to achieve and what learners get out of it. So the first picture is somewhat the expectation, but the reality kind of becomes like the second picture. So along with the ongoing training and support for the teachers, there's a necessity of having the training and support for students also, because students are also new to learning with digital technology. So they need to know how to learn with digital technologies, like what are the soft skills that's required, how to take ownership of own learning, how to be engaged in a blended learning situation, and how do we also take into consideration cultural differences and what is the sort of online learning culture that we are aspiring to build. So these are some of the ongoing training and support that the students need. The next point is the need to improve infrastructure. Students in the universities come from various socioeconomic backgrounds, and inequality is a reality which can range from not having the basic devices to learn to like not having great internet bandwidth. It can range anywhere. And again, it's more of a question like what's the role of universities to ensure that it's able to cater to equity in education, especially with respect to the digital divide. And lastly, like what is the ethical responsibility the universities are thinking about, and what is the learner's choice in it? So with AI coming into picture and learning analytics kind of taking a prominent place in the universities, how is our data being used? What sort of data is being collected? And can universities be more proactive than reactive about usage of these data, and also ensure that not just after the collection utilization of the data let the students know, but kind of also ensure that students are able to make informed choices about how the learning analytics is looking like and the data that's being collected and used. Having said all these 10 points, like Evelien said in the beginning, there's a good chance that universities already know about all this because that's where the research begins, right? So, but from a student's perspective, we see a lot of inertia, and we sometimes don't understand why there's no agility in espousing these technologies and pedagogies related to it. So can universities make their thinking visible so that we also have a voice and we also can be problem solvers, and we also can play a part in ensuring that there's an agility with which we approach education technology and practices associated with it. So these were our 10 points. From all of us students. So we would like to know from the universities and the experts, like out of these 10 points, could you choose the 3 that is a priority for you so that we get an idea as to how you view these 10 points. So you can just log into Slido and just put in your priorities, or you can just scan the QR code. Thank you.
Well, so I see that tech as a tool in pedagogical process is winning altogether with learner-centric approach. It's a good one. Yeah, so the social aspect is important, communication is important, it's true, but at the end, everybody here, well, not everybody, of course, but a big number of people is pointing the first 2 as the most important ones. Well, learner-centric approach winning. Well, we have a lot of learners here, so we all want to, for the pedagogy to be centered on us, don't we?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, and looking at these results, I would like to ask our experts in the room and also you as students, because some of you don't only learn, but you also work, and you work in the field of education. You work in companies that are that have a lot to do with education. So listening today to these 10 points and seeing these results of the poll, what do you think? Well, question number 1, did you know about it? Who do we have from our experts here? We have Wim, we have Peter, we have Blur with us. So Wim, for example, did you, was there anything that surprised you in that list?
No, nothing surprising, but I was quite happy with some of them that also students realize that this is important or something that we should think about or put some more emphasis on. For instance, the one that I like personally very much is also number 4, I think, the inter things. So the interdisciplinarity, intercultural, interinstitutional. There is a lot more that you could enter, I think, and there is also intergenerational things that you could imagine. There is also intersectoral things. I mean, there is let's say the academic world, and there is the corporate world, and there is the social world, so to say. So that are all different sectors that you could link up with educational technology. So I think I have a slide that I usually use when I present things about educational technology, where I call it I learn, and the I stands for inter, and then I use a lot of these inters, just like the students did today. So that was, to me, that was nice to see that students thought about this one. Personally, I think I also put learning centric at the first place. That's really important. There is maybe a slight difference between learning centric, that was the word that was used by the students, and learner centric. We sometimes, when we talk about instructional design and how to transform education, we think that learners should be at the center of what we are trying to do and to deal with. But here it was, it struck me at least that the students were saying that learning should be in the center. Of course, it's the learners that are learning, so in a way they also put the learners in the center, but the action of learning putting in the center, that was also something special for me. So I'm quite happy with that too. And then another remark, if I may, at the end, I think when there was that slide about inertia and the student voice, and it was said, but maybe not emphasized enough, I think. But students can be seen as co-creators of many of the things that we are doing when it comes to educational technology. I'm not sure if the word was used. I put it here on my notes that when I heard that I was also thinking, oh yeah, that means that students should be considered as important actors in the whole process, and the action they could do is co-creating things together with all other actors in the process. So yeah. Not so much new things, but from a slightly different perspective, and it makes me thinking. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Wim. And another question, not only to you, Wim, but to all the rest in the room. Was there, so even if you knew about it, were you surprised that students emphasize it? So did you think maybe, have you thought in a moment that, well, I do it, I know about it, but why do they think that I don't know? Was there anything that made you think that?
Can I just tell you a personal story that it happened this week with me, and in a course I'm coordinating. I'm not teaching in the course, but I'm coordinating a course with over 300 students. And we have to organize. It's a very simple thing. We have to organize teams of 5 students amongst these 300. And we set up a whole system where there is first groups of 20, and then the students could make teams of 5 in that group of 20. And each group of 20 has a coach. And so there is a whole structure that we had in mind. And the only thing that we thought that the students need to do was to form those teams of 5, that they should send emails to each other, and that they then try to communicate with each other to find teams of 5 in a group of 20. But oh my God, the students dislike that very much. Email. That's so old-fashioned, they told me. So when I now heard that, the very first thing that was mentioned today was the exploiting communication thing with using the adequate channels, then I thought, okay. I'm from an older age, and so I have to think about how maybe the newer generation of students is communicating, and they are no longer using their emails. So what we set up, well, sorry, but it will not work. I have to think of something else.
Especially when being online and when everything is happening online. And we struggle to, what Evelien said at the beginning as well, that we struggle to go through all these channels and extract the information that is needed. I remember that we were discussing these 10 things before the presentation. One of the students, maybe Evelien, it was you as well, said that, you know, when you are, even if you use a WhatsApp group and all the information's over there, and then somebody's scheduling a meeting and sending the link through a WhatsApp, try to find in it 1 week later. Impossible. So also understanding what kind of information should go on which channel in order to make it effective, the communication, in order to make the communication effective. Yeah. And understanding who the users are and taking into account on all this things in the background. Great.
Yeah. But okay, it looked like this week that I'm very old-fashioned and that I have to to change my thinking about communication. But maybe it's not just me. That this is also a message for the university. Let's say the institution has still as its policy that the official communication with the students goes through our learning management system, and all announcements in there, that is, students should have seen that. And the second thing is that students have a student email account at the university. And so if we want to reach the students outside the learning management system, then we use their email address, their email account. And apparently this week, the students have shown me that this is no longer the way that they want to communicate with us. And maybe we have to, to rethink our communication strategy with the students.
Yeah, seems like. So communication, big topic, then learner or learning centered education, and focusing on pedagogy instead of technology, which for me was a very interesting point coming from the students, because I hear it very often on various conferences when talking to the experts, to specialists in the field. But hearing it from the students, it's like, okay, we talk a lot about it. Human first, pedagogy first, but then it seems like that we don't do it so well if students notice it and they see it as a problem that we supposedly don't know about. So something to really think about and take into consideration also this, right? So if students mention it, it means that we have to do something about it, not only to discuss it on stage.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much to all the students working on this list, and thank you, Evelien, and thank you, Rakhi, for the presentation. It was great, really, really well done.